Today, my lecture addresses these two very important questions. First, why, when, and how is terrorism a threat to international security? And second, when is it that states see terrorism as sufficiently threatening that they're willing to respond with military force outside their borders? Why is terrorism a threat to international security? I want to talk about how the threat developed over time and the difficulty of finding an effective response. I treat the September the 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks against the U.S. as a turning point, which they were. Terrorism was relatively insignificant before those attacks, and it sprang immediately to the top of national and international policy agendas. It provoked a global war on terror and a comprehensive reorganization of the American national security bureaucracy. Now, I'm sure that some of you out there don't remember, but at one time there was no Department of Homeland Security, no National Counterterrorism Center, and you could keep your shoes on when you went through the airport. I can assure you that before that terrible day, no scholar of international relations or foreign policy thought that terrorism was a major threat to national security. How could non-state actors without armies or air forces or advanced weaponry or industrial might actually threaten world order? The dominant theory of international relations was, and still is, realism. It focuses on states and their interests and their power. The main danger at that time, before 9/11, that people anticipated, or I should say dreaded, was that terrorists might somehow acquire nuclear weapons or other weapons of mass destruction, or WMD. But barring that eventuality, which was not regarded as really very likely, terrorism was a minor blip. I think we'd say it was more than a nuisance, but it was really not an issue that it was worth spending a lot of money on. As for governments, Professor Ziegert's lecture in this online lecture series, Security Matters, shows that American intelligence agencies were caught off guard. The problem in the policy world was broader even than that. Although some officials were worried about terrorism, most were not. The Clinton administration's starting position in the early 1990s was that terrorism was one of a series of risks accompanying globalization and world development. It was comparable to epidemics of disease or natural disasters or global organized crime. Now, the Clinton administration was very quickly forced to recognize the danger of terrorism. 1993, the first attack on the World Trade Center. 1995, the bombing of the Federal Building in Oklahoma City, and also in 1995, the sarin gas attack on the Tokyo subways. But this recognition was reluctant, and terrorism was actually not a high priority even after the 1998 bombings of the American embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. To the incoming Bush administration, great power threats and issues such as immigration far overshadowed terrorism. 9/11 changed all of that.